Hi, everyone. I'm Thérèse, and this is New York Girl Again, The After, the podcast for caregivers who survived the hardest chapter of their lives and are now gathering both the courage and the strength to write the next one. I'm so grateful you've chosen to spend this time with me. Today, we're talking about forgiveness. And before you shut down, like I've done so many times before, let me state up front, forgiveness isn't about excusing what happened. It isn't about pretending it didn't hurt you, or crush your faith, or break your heart. And it certainly isn't about giving anyone a free pass. Forgiveness is about two things: freedom and peace, both yours. Caregivers carry a lot of wounds, don't we? If you've ever begged a sibling for help and only got excuses, if you poured your heart out to a friend only to be ghosted, if you sacrificed everything to care for someone and were met not with gratitude, but with complaints and anger, if you stood at a funeral and noticed who didn't bother to show up, if you poured yourself into a church, a volunteer role, or a friendship, only to be discarded the moment you were no longer useful, if you've carried guilt for not being able to do enough, then you know the weight I'm talking about. The After is full of unfinished stories, isn't it? Words that were never spoken, apologies that will never come, people who don't even realize, or maybe don't even care, how deeply they hurt you. And the cruelest part? You can carry that boulder on your back for years. But let me be clear. If you do, it will absolutely crush you. Crush you emotionally, physically, spiritually, while the one who actually inflicted the hurt is often out there living their best life without a care in the world. When we don't let go, when we hold on to betrayal or pain, our minds get stuck in what psychologists call the rumination loop. That cycle where we replay the arguments, the empty chairs, the silences, the disrespect, and every single time it cuts fresh. That loop drains us. It robs us of joy, fuels anxiety, and ties us to the past instead of allowing us to move forward. And do you want to know something really powerful? Your brain does not know the difference between a broken promise and a broken bone. Emotional injuries, rejection, betrayal, abandonment light up the same pain centers in your brain as a physical wound. That's why it hurts so deeply. And this doesn't just live in your mind. It settles into your body too. Holding on to anger and resentment keeps your body locked in fight or flight mode. Your blood pressure rises, your heart races, stress hormones flood your system. And over time, that takes a toll. Sleepless nights, anxiety, depression, aching joints, a body that feels heavy, not only from what we endured during the caregiving journey, or the struggles we face in the after, but from the pain and bitterness we continue to carry. And then there's the spirit. Betrayal isn't just disappointment, and it's not only sadness. It's a wound to the soul. When someone you trusted hurts you or abandons you, it shakes your faith in people, and sometimes even in God. It leaves you asking, how could they? How could he let this happen? Psychologists have a name for this: moral injury. When what you thought was sacred feels shattered. So why does betrayal cut so deeply? Why does it stay with us? Not just during caregiving, but long after, shaping how we move through the after. It comes down to how we're built. Our brains are wired for connection and belonging. We are designed to trust, to rely on others, to support and to be supported, to feel held in community. So when the people closest to us walk away, when they ghost us, when they leave us carrying the entire load, we don't just feel disappointment. We feel pain, real pain. As I mentioned earlier, our brains do not know the difference between social pain and physical pain. When someone abandons you, when someone betrays you, when someone refuses to show up, it activates the very same pain centers in the brain as if you had been physically injured. That's why betrayal doesn't just sting, it wounds. And then we replay it. Who didn't call? Who didn't come? What they said? What they didn't say. Over and over again, like a movie we can't turn off. And every time we replay it, the wound feels new. That cycle drains us. It robs us of energy we desperately need in the after, to heal, to rebuild, to rediscover ourselves. This is where the word that feels impossible, but transforms everything comes in: forgiveness. Science has shown us that forgiveness changes things. It's transformative. Caregivers who lean into forgiveness, not forgetting, not reconciling, just choosing to release, to let go, give their nervous systems permission to finally stand down, to breathe again, to rest, to refocus. Forgiveness is one of the most powerful acts of self-compassion. You don't forgive because they deserve it. You forgive because you deserve peace. You forgive because you deserve the ability to move forward and build your life again. You don't have to reconcile to forgive. You don't need an apology. You don't need closure. Forgiveness is a gift you give yourself. But I want to be very clear, because this is something I have long struggled with, and it's important to healing. Forgiveness is not forgetting. It is not saying what happened was in any way okay. What forgiveness is freedom. It's choosing to release the weight so it is no longer defining you. It's choosing to stop letting their betrayal write the rest of your story. It's saying, I may never get the apology I deserve, but I refuse to let your absence, your betrayal, or even my own guilt hold me hostage anymore. That's the psychology of forgiveness. It doesn't erase what happened, but it can transform what happens next. Forgiveness in the after isn't one size fits all. It shows up in layers, in faces, and each face asks something different of us. Forgiving loved ones, sometimes the hardest person to forgive is the very one we cared for. Dementia outbursts, personality changes, or words spoken in pain can leave scars that linger. But those moments weren't truly them. They were the illness speaking. Forgiveness here means separating the person you loved from the disease that twisted their words or behavior. It means remembering the whole of who they were, not just the suffering at the end. Forgiving absent family. Then there are the family members who disappeared. The ones who promised to help but never showed up, not once. The ones who left you carrying that immense, soul-crushing weight alone. That absence is its own kind of betrayal. Forgiveness here doesn't require their apology. It doesn't even require closure. It's the quiet decision to say, "You showed me who you are, and I believe you. But your absence no longer has the power to define my after." Forgiving friends who left. Friends you thought would stay by you often vanish when things get heavy. Grief terrifies people, and many simply don't know how to face it. That doesn't excuse their silence, but understanding that their vanishing act was about their fear, not your worth, can help ease the sting. Forgiveness here doesn't mean welcoming them back in. It means loosening their hold on your heart so you can keep it open to people who can show up. Forgiving communities who betrayed you. Maybe in the after, you poured yourself into a church, a volunteer role, a circle of friends, even a workplace, only to be disrespected and then discarded the moment you were no longer considered useful. That kind of betrayal shakes your trust and rattles your faith. It can certainly harden your heart if you let it. Forgiveness here doesn't erase the injustice, but it protects you from being consumed by bitterness and resentment. It's choosing to say, "I will not let your blindness to my worth change who I am. I will still choose goodness. I will still choose to help people. And I will not let your betrayal close off my caring, loving heart." And then comes the most difficult phase of forgiveness, forgiving yourself for the things you wish you'd done differently, for the guilt you carry, for the anger you felt, for the resentment you sometimes buried. Forgiveness here is not about pretending you were perfect or excusing mistakes. It's about reclaiming your humanity. It's looking at yourself with compassion and saying, "I was human. I did my best, and my best was enough." Self-forgiveness is often the hardest, but it is also the most liberating. It's the gift that frees you to live again. So where do we even begin? First, acknowledge the wound. Don't sugarcoat it. Don't minimize it. Say what happened. Write it down. Call it by its name. The only way through the pain is to face it honestly. Second, separate the act from your identity. What they did or didn't do does not define your worth. Their betrayal says nothing about your value. It only reveals their limitation. Third, reframe the betrayal. This is not easy, but it is powerful. Ask yourself, what strength did this give me? What clarity did I gain? What boundaries did this teach me to set? Even the deepest hurt can leave behind an unexpected gift. And finally, release. This is the heart of forgiveness. Release means saying, I refuse to let this wound dictate my future. I choose to move forward without being shackled to them. And here's what you need to hold on to. You can forgive without forgetting. You can release without reconciling. You can protect your boundaries and still keep your heart open. Forgiveness is not erasing the story. It's rewriting the ending. It's choosing to remain soft enough to love, to keep your heart open and vulnerable, but strong enough to never again settle for less than you deserve. Forgiveness isn't saying what they did was okay. It isn't inviting them back in. It isn't pretending it didn't hurt or that it didn't break something in you. Forgiveness is saying, I choose not to carry this anymore. And if you are living in the after, you've already carried enough. You carried the weight of caregiving. You've carried the weight of grief. You carried the weight of everyone else's absence. Now it's time to set that burden down. So forgive without forgetting. Stay open without being naive. Protect your boundaries and still keep your caring, loving heart open. And here's the gift. When you release bitterness, your hands and your heart are finally free to hold joy, love, and life again. Forgiveness is not for them. Forgiveness is for you. And as you walk your after, never forget, you are not alone. Thank you for spending this time with me. If this episode spoke to you, please share it with another caregiver in the after, or with anyone who's carrying the weight of unforgiveness and needs to hear these words. Don't forget to join our growing community at newyorkgirlagain.com and follow us on social media at New York Girl Again, where we walk this road together. Until next time, remember, you've carried enough. Let peace be the gift you finally give yourself.